My parents passed down a hereditary illness, but they never told me.
How dare they share my genes?
I, 28 female, recently found out I have a serious hereditary illness that's going to screw up my life, and I'm so mad I can barely type this out. It's a degenerative illness, no cure, nothing. My body's just going to slowly get worse, and the kicker? My parents have known this could happen my entire life and never said a dang word. This illness runs in my family. My dad's mom has it. His sister, my aunt, died from it a few years ago. I was living overseas when she passed, and my parents told me it was cancer. Cancer. They lied right to my face. It wasn't until I got diagnosed that they finally came clean and admitted that she had the same illness that I do. When I confronted them, my dad wouldn't give me a straight answer. I asked if he had it too, and he dodged every single question, acting like I was overreacting. My mom, on the other hand, tried to justify it by saying they didn't want me living in fear. Are you kidding me? I could have been prepared. Instead, they chose to let me walk into this blind. And here's where it gets worse. I have a 2-year-old son, which means that my child might have this, and they never told me that I was at risk. I could have had him tested, made informed decisions, but no, they took that from me, and now I live in constant fear for him too. Then my mom had the nerve to ask me if I would have rather not been born than deal with this. Can you believe that? She turned it around on me like I'm the monster for even thinking it. And you know what? Yeah, I said it. Yes, I would rather have not been born than to deal with this disease. They made a selfish choice, and now I'm paying for it. They knew the risks and did it anyway for themselves. They wanted kids, and now I'm stuck with this. I called them selfish, and I meant every word. Now they're begging me not to tell my younger siblings. They don't know about this yet and haven't been tested, and my parents want to keep it that way. They're hoping they'll get lucky, but I'm not going to lie to them. I refuse to let them be blindsided like I was. They deserve to know the truth. I've gone low contact with my parents. I can't stand to even think about them right now. My mom keeps trying to guilt trip me, saying that they were just trying to protect me. But protect me from what? The truth? No, they weren't protecting me. They were protecting themselves from the guilt of knowing that they passed this on, and now they want me to protect them too, but I won't. I love my son and my siblings too much to lie to them. I ended up telling my siblings. We met at my sister's house, and I just came out with it. I have Huntington's, and it's hereditary.
Y'all called it.
You should both get checked. My brother started panicking. He and his fiance just started trying to get pregnant, and now he's terrified. He's furious with our parents and fully on my side. He confronted them right after, and now we're both going low contact. My sister was more shocked and distant, but she said she'll get tested. My parents are pissed that I told them without waiting for the right time, but I don't regret it. My siblings deserved the truth, and I wasn't going to let them live in ignorance like I did. Am I the a-hole for going low contact and refusing to keep their secret, even though they claim they were just trying to protect me? I told my siblings we met at my sister's house. I just came out with it. I told them that what I had said, and that it was hereditary. My sister thanked me for telling her and told me that she would get tested, but seemed distant. I get it. It's very heavy, so I've been giving her space, but made it clear that I'm here for her. My brother looked horrified because he and his fiance had started trying for a baby, and the fear in his eyes was immediate. His fiance, who works as a senior nurse in palliative care, didn't take it lightly either. She deals with degenerative diseases every day and had a family member die from one, so this news hit her hard. She immediately took control of the situation. She has a lot of connections in the medical field because of her work, and she's been pulling strings to get my brother's test done as fast as possible. She's also been making sure I get the care I need, reaching out to specialists she knows personally. She's actually moving things around and calling in favors to ensure that I'm seen quickly. Good for her. On top of that, she's been adamant that I need to see a counselor, pushing me to get emotional support. Given her experience, she knows how hard this is going to be, and I'm grateful she's making it happen because I wouldn't know where to begin. My husband and I have also been having difficult conversations about the future. We've decided to make my will, and I've been clear with him about when I won't want to continue living if things get too bad. I've also started recording videos for my son. I watched P.S. I Love You years ago, and the idea of leaving something behind for my husband and son feels like a way to hold on to a part of me. We're planning to speak to a child psychologist soon to figure out the best way to prepare our son for what's coming, though we haven't started yet, and also to weigh our option about him and the possibility of him getting this illness from me. We're not going to make an uninformed decision. On Saturday, our parents invited all of us over to their house saying they wanted to talk. My sister came too, but she didn't stay long. As soon as my parents started explaining how they kept the illness hidden to protect us, she couldn't take it. She stood up, said she couldn't handle it, and left. She's been distant since, and it feels like I've lost her a little. I know she's terrified, but it still hurts to see her pulling away. After my sister left, everything exploded. My parents turned on me, blaming me for ruining the family and accusing me of causing all this chaos by telling the truth. No, they kept saying they did it to protect us, but I just couldn't respond anymore. That's when my brother's fiance stepped in. She completely laid into them, telling them that they had no right to keep something this serious from us. She told them that they hadn't protected us, they had betrayed us. And I was so relieved that she stepped in because I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. Then my dad snapped. He started shouting at her, telling her to stay out of it, and he shoved me. I couldn't even react. I was so shocked. And I'm shocked as well reading this. My husband immediately stepped between us, grabbed my dad's arm, and told him he'd better never touch me again. My dad just kept shouting, saying I was the one who was tearing the family apart and blowing everything out of proportion. So that was it. We left. My brother and his fiance walked out with us, and since then, none of us have spoken to my parents. They've been calling, but I don't want to hear their excuses. They're still insisting that they did everything to protect us, but it feels like they were just protecting themselves from guilt. I don't have the energy for their manipulations anymore, but I'll always have energy for you to join us live on YouTube every week at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap that profile. Right now, my brother and I are focused on getting tested. His fiance is doing everything she can to keep things moving forward. She's been an incredible support, and we're relying on her to help us navigate what comes next. I'm focusing on my son, my husband, and preparing for the future. There's too much at stake to keep fighting about a secret that never should have been kept in the first place. And that is the end of that story.
Well, when do you think you should tell your kid that they have Huntington's? Put your answers in the chat below.
All right. I guess I see early, like, because the kids are adaptable.
That's what.
Before puberty.
Oh, sure. Listen to chat, but not me.
I feel like 11, 12, 13, that's before puberty.
Oh, now you're doing 11, 12. Wow. It really
You brought up Harry Potter.
Well,
being
I was
11
just
years old.
Which is why I was saying, like, 13 years way too late. Harry learned that he was a wizard at 11, and you're just going to disregard Harry Potter.
Okay, 11 then. 11.
I mean, but like
that's
10.
still late childhood.
Yeah, but there's early admissions to Hogwarts.
Am I the asshole for not financially supporting my husband more? Hi, everyone. I know I might be the asshole here, but I need some perspective on just how much. Here's what happened, and then I'll provide some background. Yesterday, my 19 female, husband, 29 male.
Wait. 19 female, 29 male?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Uh-oh. I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
Lack of self-awareness. Uh-oh. Your husband, too?
Yes.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Not good.
Set up a new joint bank account for our 2-month-old daughter.
Whoa.
So at least 11 months together?
At least 11 months. And then you had time before that to have a relationship? Uh-oh.
And you're 19.
You're married as well? Uh-oh.
So 18. And said I should put her child benefit money in that account. He wanted to use it for only her needs, not personal expenses, but also asked me to discuss any further purchases I make for her with him beforehand. I pushed back a bit, saying that since the child benefit is in my name, I'd like to manage it. I've been the one primarily handling all of her needs except for nappies, which he buys, and I haven't been frivolous with it. He got upset, saying it's her money, not yours, but I clarified I wasn't spending it on myself, I just didn't want to lose control of it. This led to a bigger discussion that evening, and he ended up saying he felt hurt and unsupported. He reminded me of how, when he was struggling a lot financially, I hadn't offered him more help, even though he later saw in my bank accounts, which he needed for a visa application, that I had about 1,200 euros saved up. To be clear, this money came from gifts after I gave birth and saved universal credit payments. In my mind, I was saving it as an emergency. I was saving it as a cushion for our family's emergencies, not necessarily to help him pay off debts or cover monthly expenses. His comments really hurt in this conversation. He said I wasn't kind and that I'm greedy, and he implied that he wants a wife who would be kind and give more. It felt like he was suggesting he'd prefer a different partner. Now for some additional background. While I was pregnant, my husband decided to quit his job to work on a business in his home country. I supported him because it's his dream and he genuinely thought he'd find a new job quickly when he returned. But it's been about 8 months and he's still looking. His business does all right, but it leaves him with a very tight budget. So I applied for universal credit to help us. I give him half of what I get since he covers rent and food. Before we were married, we agreed I'd be a housewife, and he'd give me a monthly allowance of 200 euros for personal expenses, covering other essentials. Once he quit his job, I suggested lowering this amount, which he appreciated and still gave me what he could. But once I got universal credit, about 800 euros a month, it didn't make sense for him to keep giving me money, and I started giving 400 euros a month. One reason why I took more money monthly than I took before is because I wanted to save some money because he's particular about not relying on benefits more than needed. He even didn't want me to apply for council housing, and he didn't want our rent listed as more than 600 euros on the universal credit form. He also doesn't want to take certain jobs, fearing his clients might see him and it could hurt his business's reputation. So he's been looking for very specific jobs. And honestly, previously, I never asked for more money and learned to do beauty treatments I like to get myself, and after buying items to keep my appearance and on public transport, I could buy clothes and things when I needed, and I always felt uncomfortable asking, so I liked the freedom that money gave me. I admit I've been cautious with my savings. I wanted to avoid being a new source of income for him, while still keeping a financial cushion for emergencies. I also wanted enough for things like transportation, toiletries, and even clothes for myself, since I couldn't always afford those before. I know in our culture, as practicing Muslims, my money is traditionally my own, while he's responsible for household expenses. But I know I could have been more open about what I had saved, as I did save one whole universal credit payment that was backdated. He also pointed out that since I don't technically work for the universal credit payments, I shouldn't feel entitled to it, and we only get it because we have to pay rent, which is partially true. However, they also give this money as I was pregnant and unable to work, and will give for 2 years post-birth, and then I will need to start working to receive payments. Honestly, right now, I'm feeling hurt by his comments of me being greedy and unkind, so it's a bit hard to see the situation clearly. If anyone can give advice on how I should handle this, it would be great, as I'm still kind of immature, and I don't know how to support him/deal with these situations. I would also like to clarify, even though I did give him extra money whenever he asked, as always, I had at least 50 euros saved. So am I the asshole for not offering more financial support to my husband, given our situation? Am I the asshole for bringing a dish from my culture to my in-laws' family reunion? I, 28 female, am Chinese American. My husband and my in-laws are all white. On Saturday, they had a family reunion, and because my husband wanted me to go so bad, I made a traditional Chinese dish called xiaolongbao. My mother-in-law gave a bad look when I placed the plate down on the table. She comes up to me and asks, "What have you got here?" And I tell her what it is, and she told me that Eastern food doesn't belong in her home. I was forced to throw it out, and my heart was broken. I walked out and sat in the car for an hour waiting for my husband to come out. On the car ride home, it was mostly silent until he broke it with, "Yeah, sorry about that. My mom doesn't really like any culture outside of my family's." My in-laws have never been directly racist to me before. This is the second gathering with them I have been to, and also the third seeing my mother-in-law. My family isn't happy at this, and my sister suggested that I divorce my husband and marry within our culture. My mom was never happy with me marrying him in the first place, and I didn't have a wedding because of it. My husband has a neutral opinion on the situation and acts like it isn't much of a big deal. He says that his family didn't seem to care about our relationship at all, but I'm starting to think he may have lied to me about that. Am I the asshole? So, top comment, "It doesn't belong in her home." Is that really a metaphor for how she feels about her son bringing you into their lives? What a hideous, tacky bitch. My daughter-in-law is Chinese and I love her. She's smart and talented, and I think my son is so lucky they found each other. And I'd be thrilled if she brought something from her culture to a family gathering. I'm so sorry about your experience with those awful people. If you have kids, guess who will never get to see them?